We have a multi-million-dollar construction site that has just been shut down, waiting for us. Seems the work crew out there turned over more than just dirt. Specifically, human remains. The bones may be ancient, making this a historic site. Or if not so ancient, a murder. Either way, we need to dig up the truth.
Hey, Sarah Seidel. You're the new recruit tearing up the place, huh? Well, if what we have is old bones, we'll just have to be advisors. What do you say we head to the dig site and get our hands dirty? I've already made a quick background check of the history. There have been a few archaeological finds west and south of the site, southern Paiute Indians. We'll have to identify this as either a potential crime scene or a possible ancient burial ground.
I am Elliot Lansdowne, and I don't appreciate this inconvenience. You people are holding up construction and costing me dearly, every second. As a taxpayer, in all due respect, I'm asking you to move this along quickly, so my men can get back to it. Just over 2 years, but I've been buying up land for 15. It was obvious the city would keep growing, including in this direction. In the land development business, 2 years isn't long at all, especially when you have to assemble enough parcels to build a casino this size. Anyway, putting together 250 mil of other people's money isn't an overnight affair. I put on my share of dog and pony shows to raise that kind of capital. I went through a broker to acquire most of the parcels that make up this site. The owner of this one? Never had contact. Mine is a speculative business. Informed speculation, but speculation just the same. I buy from intermediaries who link buyers with sellers. And some of the people I deal with, frankly, are flim-flam artists who've latched onto worthless land to con commissions out of greedy, stupid buyers. But someone like me can take advantage of their shady nature and pick up diamonds in the rough. Like this parcel. Only the backhoe. My crew are an experienced bunch, and knew enough not to touch a thing. Second we uncovered the bones, the operator shut down and brought me in. I knew damn well we needed to call you people in. But what bothers me? See, we got a couple of Native Americans on our crew. Good men, hard workers, but they've been spouting off about ancient burial grounds, and now I'm worried. Maybe this wasn't a— Knock yourself out. Just do it fast, okay? I understand I got no choice in this. My land, but I got no say. Great. Just swell. So the sooner you people can deal with our skeletal friend, the sooner I can start putting this casino up. Remains were found over by that dig hole.
That's all we need right now. Here's the bones of contention. We'll need to make sure we carefully remove any dirt from these remains. The soil looks a bit darker here, doesn't it? Fingernails decayed a long time ago, but something survived. Tiny fiber of some kind. Something similar to that. Unfortunately, that backhoe appears to have done some damage unearthing our friend. But it's clearly a skull. Note the nick around the eye socket. Tiny broken glass fragments. Hey, don't assume that makes this a modern corpse. The Paiute dabbled in colored glass beads. But this fragment, it looks clear, so perhaps it is modern. Lot of damage, too bad. 'Cause it may screw up checking dental records. I don't see any obvious dental work. Tire impression in the dried mud. I don't think the Paiute left this, though, judging by the treads around edges, it's been here a while. A couple of years, maybe. We can't use that here. We can't use that here. Not my area of expertise, but could be an artifact. You know, more tribes than just the Paiute populated this region. A bird's nest. We probably shouldn't disturb it unless we have a reason to. Bad karma.
What's up? That tire tread is now on the computer for you. It's a fiber of some sort. Definitely modern, some kind of synthetic. I'll prepare it for the microscope. I had a comprehensive soil analysis run on the sample. The report found that based on the calcium, magnesium, and chloride levels, the soil immediately around the body was turned recently, relatively speaking. Best guess is between 1.5 and 2.3 years. At no added cost to you, I also had the electrolyte levels checked to see if our decomposing victim gave off any clues while taking the dust-to-dust trip. Came back clean, suggesting the victim was otherwise healthy at the time of death, except for the dying part.
So, we've got an approximate time for when the body was buried. 2 years. Doesn't confirm the age of the victim, but it's a start. A good one. Thanks, Greg.
It's chert, a hard, brittle form of silica. These sharp edges and points are likely man-made, though. If this is an arrowhead, you're looking at a historic site, no matter what else you might find out there.
Then we should bring in an archaeologist. For the site's sake, if not the Vic's. Still, learning about that patch of desert might help us reinterpret our evidence.
Such a small piece of glass, I can't really tell you much. Maybe the microscope will give you more than I can.
Tread's too weathered for a definitive match to anything in the database. Best we'll get is a comparative match to another tread based on the owner had hyperopia, farsightedness, and used progressive bifocals. I'd estimate the spherical number at around 2.35 diopters. Definitely prescription, since grocery store reading glasses always come in 0.25 increments.
What's up? Apart from the construction itself, nothing. But I can tell you the press is all over this mess. Nothing like some rolling bones to spark the media's imagination. That new casino has been hyped to the hilt, and that makes this little story way too big for my taste. Play your cards close to the vest on this one. I can make that happen. I'll just call the university, have them send somebody over to the site. Can't promise how fast, though. Not like these profs are sitting around waiting for our call.
Sorry, I should have introduced myself. I'm John Montana. I'm an archaeologist from the University of Western Nevada.
Sericidal Crime Lab, this is my partner. Frankly, Mr. Montana, I didn't expect service this fast. We were told it was unlikely an expert like you could just drop everything and head out here.
I didn't have any classes today, and besides, the Paiute are my specialty. When I heard of human remains discovered out this way, well, I just had to dig in, so to speak. How can I help?
That's all we need right now.
Arrowheads of this type date the site to before 1640. Most likely Southern Paiute Indians, as I expected. Putting together that arrowhead with these ancient remains, I'd have to say this is a Paiute burial site. I doubt Native American activists will put up with a casino here.
What makes you think these remains are Native American?
The Paiute typically buried their dead in a location like this, with artifacts like that arrowhead. It's consistent with their practices and beliefs.
Okay, if we're looking at a Paiute site, why would a developer begin construction or even buy a property without first having an expert assess it?
He probably wouldn't, but it's a big desert, Ms. Seidel, and as I understand, it took a backhoe to unearth these remains. Even experts make mistakes sometimes. Looking around, I'd have to say no, but a qualified no. See, I've evaluated scores of such sites over the years when an expert opinion's been needed. Still, had I been called, I can tell you I'd advise my client that this site is rife with red flags. It's a typical spot for Paiutes to settle. Well, I suppose anything's possible, but why on earth would anybody want to?
I'm gonna take a wild stab and say to hide a modern crime in the context of ancient artifacts.
And religious significance.
Before I bought it, it was. Also, it was surveyed and cleared for large-scale construction. Or so I was told. Shows you what an expert opinion is worth these days. If I'd known these kind of headaches had been waiting for me out there, I'd never bought the damn land. You know, historical sites are virtually worthless to a developer. What am I gonna do? Put up a casino museum? Now, I'm embarrassed to say, I don't. Wish I did. Moved into a bigger office around the time we bought this property. If you ever moved in your life, you know how it goes. Dump things into boxes, and it's like they fell into a black hole. Which is where the backgrounder file on this property ended up, I'm afraid. Plus which, that real estate broker went out of business a while back. Moved out of state, I think. Not really. Bunch of junk, kind of stuff you run across anytime you clear land for construction. But there was enough to put a box of it together. My guys picked through it, probably took anything that was worth anything. But you're more than welcome to the leavings.
That's all we need right now. Here's the junk box Mr. Lansdowne mentioned. A watch. Kind that's right only twice a day. Baseball bat. That's not right for this. We can't use that here. Something embedded here. It's a tiny piece of glass. Pretty badly burned at this end. Accelerant's fluorescent or UV light. Good find. Can't be sure what kind it is yet, though.
Sure, I'll send a team out to retrieve it. All this blunt impact damage to the facial area, accompanied by some damage sustained to the cranial cavity, likely shutting down brain function almost immediately. We're talking blows to the face and head with a slim but heavy object. Repeated blows. In this state of damage, it's difficult to determine precisely, but an educated guess, based on the facial bones, early 40s possibly. Puts the time well beyond a few months, but it could be longer, possibly much longer. Well, mitochondrial DNA for sure. Keeping a database of DNA records is a fairly recent practice, depending on how long ago the victim lived and whether or not there'd been a reason to have his or her DNA cataloged. It may or may not be useful to you. Superficially, no, but the skull had a tiny hairline fracture on the occipital bone, which healed many years before death. Childhood injury or accident, maybe. I took a head x-ray. Sinus cavities are as unique as fingerprints. Some medical offices have been putting their archived x-ray records on an image-searchable database. If your victim is contemporary, you may be able to cross-reference it and maybe get an identity. Sinus cavity is somewhat damaged, possibly from the weight of the backhoe. Damage to the mouth area was too severe. I looked for signs of dental work unsuccessfully. You know, some dentists have started embedding ID tags and chips within porcelain caps and fillings just for situations like these.
Did our Vic have an ID like that?
I'm afraid not, Sarah. I just mention it as a point of interest. Well, it's a fairly narrow nick with a slight curvature. Wire-framed glasses? Not unlikely.
Let's say our Vic had his glasses on when he was struck in the face, shattering the glass and embedding it in the tissue. Killer tries to clean it off, but some pieces were just too deeply embedded. We have a violent homicide here, possibly a spontaneous one reflecting anger and/or passion.
You got it.
Yes? I amplified and graphed that DNA of yours, scanned it into the computer. Here are your options. A, chemistry lesson, or B, detailed organic breakdown.
How about C? Simple layman's terms.
C4H10, N-butane, more commonly known as lighter fluid, fast burning and easy to use.
Found that in the soil near the grave. Could have leached into the ground, or maybe somebody had a barbecue nearby. Although, another more likely explanation is somebody had a little bonfire to destroy evidence, doing their best to cover up our Vic's identity. Someone who doused the victim's clothing and personal effects in lighter fluid could have easily spilled some.
Clear, thin glass. Might want to do some microscopic work on it. Okay, we got a broken watch, weather damaged. Was able to look up the brand, Rolston Precision Classic. Very distinctive band on that model.
Glass fragment looks cleanly cleaved on one face. Perfect fit. I think we have a relic of a murder here. Question is, who stepped up to the plate? Think any of these are a match? I'm not too sure.
Being here to serve, I scanned the sinus x-ray into the computer, but that cranial cavity damage may make it tough to find a perfect match. Still, I've set up a simple search on the computer to compare the sinus x-ray to others on file for missing persons.
And jackpot. A positive ID on our victim, Freddie Sloan. He was in on some shady deals. Maybe running with the kind of people who would bury you in the desert.
Need something? Hey, remember I told you this case was on the media's radar? Word's out, it's a modern-day Vic. Cranks are coming out of the woodwork, too. We just got a call from... Ready for this? Madame Lazora, some self-professed psychic, claims to be having visions about your pile of bones when it was still up walking around in a flesh suit. Says his name was Fast Eddie.
Captain, that's really close to one of our Vic's AKAs. Fast Freddy.
Maybe you want to check out this medium at large, then. If you can get onto her dance card between the local radio and TV interview she's granting, that is. Her parlor is near the southern end of the strip. Ran a background check already just to satisfy my curiosity. Came up empty. That I can manage easy enough. Looks like the same owner last couple of years. Our friend Lansdowne. Before that, one Adam Kilborn. Sold the land through a broker for a hefty amount. Might be worth talking to Kilborn, see if he remembers anything odd that may have gone down on that property. Mr. Kilborn resides in... Well, this is interesting for a guy who made a small bundle selling that piece of property a few years ago. Lives in a public housing complex. Vista Court, Unit 203.
You the cops? I wasn't making any noise. I don't care what these lousy neighbors say.
Actually, we're with the crime lab. Would you mind answering a few questions?
Listen, if it's about those parking tickets, I'll get to it when I can afford it, okay? Rent comes first, understand? What does that have to do with those parking tickets? Huh? History schmistery. Nothing ever happened out there other than coyotes making cactus fertilizer. It was a pile of worthless dirt. And for once I scored. What good it did me.
If you don't mind me saying, you sound a little bitter, Mr. Kilborn. Tell us why.
Oh, hell, I don't know. Living the life of Riley like this. Who was Riley, anyway? What made his life so frickin' great? Look, I don't get any kind of play, foul or otherwise. Haven't had a woman in my life for the last 3 years. Most action I gotten lately was getting my change lifted by a pickpocket.
Mr. Kilborn, how did you get from making a small fortune in the desert to...
Living off food stamps in the city? Hey, this is Vegas, honey. Scratch a winner, find a loser. And the vice versa, catch me? Once upon a time, I had me a small plot of prime Las Vegas real estate. Didn't look like much, but a glittering palace will rise up out of that sand one day soon. And I'm the king who lost his whole damn kingdom. My savings, everything, down the porcelain chute. Hey, I've been frank with you people. Now you want me to take you on a trip through every stupid screw-up I made? You think I want to put myself through sharing the details of my rise and fall to a bunch of strangers? No way. Damn right I mind. I'm the king, remember? And this is my castle. Stay on the other side of my moat. Go on, get out of here.
That's all we need right now.
Ah, I knew you were coming. My name is Madame Stella Lazora, and you must be the investigators.
We're with the police, that is the crime lab. We're working the site where the body was found, and if the media is to be believed, we understand you may have some insights to share.
I sense a certain skepticism, young lady. I take no offense. You are a woman of science, and whereas I am of the metaphysical, each, in its way, is a noble calling. Let us attempt to bridge those worlds. It is not so much a matter of knowing, but sensing. We do not control those on the other side. In the midst of a session with a client, seeking answers about a crossed-over loved one, a seemingly unrelated vision seized my consciousness. I saw a name. Eddie. Carved in flowing letters.
Is that right?
Yes. Then another. A variation. Fast Eddie. And then images. An eagle soaring. But then that eagle fell to earth, dying in the snow, with only the cold and pain to keep him company. And then this vision blurred, and another took form. A word carved delicately, as if in soapstone. Sloan. We encounter souls on many planes, from this physical world to the astral. But can we really say we know them? As I have said, I do not control the other side. I am but their conduit. If they wish to speak through me, they do. If they wish to instruct me, they do so. Often through visions which require interpretation. By victim, I believe you speak of Edward Sloan. More than this I cannot, at this time, say. This material world interests me not. Do what you like. I ask only that my belongings are left undisturbed, as they've been arranged precisely to help focus my psychic energies.
That's all we need right now. Lighter fluid. Can't imagine lighting our candles and incense requires this much stuff. Finding lighter fluid near the remains may make the supply here of interest. Of course, the murder didn't happen recently.
Yeah? What do you need, guys? Ran a check on the guy while you were dropping by his place. No criminal record. I can try, but no promises. Nothing from the major banks. Let's see. Let me try something else. Ah, here we go. Kilbourne filed for bankruptcy protection. And one of the creditors who filed a claim? Freddie Snow.
With that riches-to-rags story of his, Kilbourne just might have been driven to sell his land by creditors, and ultimately, driven to violence.
That's what we call around here a theory, which is what it'll stay, unless you come up with some supporting evidence. What's up? Kilbourne had reason to hold a grudge against Freddie for triggering his downward spiral, and Kilbourne owned the property when Freddie joined the Missing Persons Club. Even without much physical evidence, we can justify a warrant, particularly with an older case like this.
Mr. Kilbourne seems to have stepped out of his castle, but with our warrant, we can cross the moat and start looking for evidence. Soap sculptures. Isn't that grade school stuff? Maybe it's the latest craft trend or something. Aesthetic considerations aside, this indicates Mr. Kilbourne was an aspiring artisan, just not a very good one. Looks like the guy stuck paying for raw materials, too. Nice catch. This curio is just heavy enough to cause some real damage. We can't use that here. Try something similar. That's not right for this. It's a computer data backup tape. Haven't seen this format for a while. Possibly an antique, artifact of some kind. A dangerous one.
Yes? The damage was definitely caused by blunt force trauma. The statue is one possible weapon, especially if the impact was from one of the narrower parts on the figure.
Hey. Chert, crafted in the fashion of the Paiute Indians of this region. Preliminary findings indicate it's legit.
You know, if the axe is of the same vintage as the artifacts from the dig, Mr. Kilbourne starts to look less than honest. He told us his former land had no historical significance.
Contents were deleted and overwritten several times. I did manage to dig out a couple of file fragments. Seems the backup software that wrote to the tape used a proprietary security algorithm. I've set up a link on the computer to help you decipher it. May have found a scrambled image, too. You work on the first fragment, and I'll work on the other. Unofficial assessment of this relic, a post-Qing dynasty piece.
Pretty old, huh?
Best guess, around 1998. Made in the USA, too. Oh, for future reference, post-Qing is anything after 1911.
Thanks. I'll keep that in mind, Greg.
Here's something for the plus side. There was enough blood on the statue to amplify an output to the computer for DNA analysis. Soap sculptures of America? You're kidding, right? Hey, I'll set up a computer link and you can track the folks behind the latest craze to never hit the country.
Think any of these are a match? I'm not too sure. Okay, lots of people unhappy with Soap Sculptures of America. Owner's Dale Edison, but nothing else comes up about him in any relevant database. Seems like a variation of the doing art at home scam. You submit an art test, drawing a cartoon bird or a clown or something, and they tell you you're the next Norman Rockwell. They promise to buy your work, cast it in bronze, and resell it at a big markup. All you have to do is pay big startup fees and buy overpriced supplies exclusively from them, in this case special soap, only to have them keep rejecting your work while encouraging more effort. And spending. The abstract of the land assessment study. Negative on the historical significance, but did Kilbourne really believe the site was clean when he peddled it? And who would have authored a report so obviously wrong? Seems like somebody was trying to slip his own past between the pages of ancient history.
While you were playing around with that hex dump, I decrypted the other file. Please, no applause, only embarrasses me. I've printed it out for you to take.
It's John Montana, looking over Mr. Lansdowne's property. Wait a minute, what's that on his arm? Let's take it in a bit closer. Look at the brand, Rolston Precision Classic, same watch we found. Could John Montana have actually been inspecting the property himself 2 years ago, or even killing the victim?
Again, I know little of this physical plane. I read signs from the other side. But I can tell you this. You cannot always believe what you read. whether it be a Ouija board's message or words fashioned by flesh and blood hand. How fascinating that your investigations on the physical plane have taught you what I instinctively knew. There are many paths to heaven and to knowledge.
With all due respect, madam, we're not here for reading, seance, or any kind of show. How about you drop the act and stick to the facts?
You threaten me after I have shared my insights?
Psychics have been known to help the police, and I respect the scientific study of extrasensory perception, but phony psychics have sometimes shared insights from the other side, inside knowledge of a crime.
These are outlandish implications. You had best watch your words, young lady. The media would not smile upon the police harassing a good citizen who stepped forward to help.
You know, I tested high for ESP in college, and I'm getting a picture of your future. It's a little gray room with bars on the windows. Now, did you know Eddie Sloan or not? And did you have a grudge against him?
My energies are ebbing. Visions such as I described to you are taxing. I have nothing more to share with you. What a ridiculous and insulting assertion.
Then maybe you can explain why you keep so much lighter fluid around. We found the same substance near the victim's remains, but no clothes or personal effects, as if someone had destroyed that evidence.
And if you are suggesting that I aided a murderer in destroying evidence, I would remind you that Madame Lazora is a source of positive energy on various planes.
Let's keep it down to earth, shall we? What are you holding back? Is it something to do with those soap carvings?
You are a detective. Your mind is keen, so I won't insult you with mere facts. Interpret these simple but profound insights. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. To some, this may be costly to learn, while for others there may be much to earn. To our late departed victim, both of these pertain.
Did Eddie Sloan check in from the other side to tell you that?
As I have indicated, Eddie has not directly spoken to me as yet. He chooses to speak in images, in riddles. All I can do is but pass these on to you in a spirit of positive energy. Eddie?
No, Dale. Dale Edison.
Names are earthly constraints. There are many ways to know a person. First, you must think of Eddie. Eddie Sloan.
Lady, I really don't have time to play these games. We have a murder on our hands and a construction site that... Eddie Sloan. Eddie Sloan. Dale Edison. Rearrange letters and... So that's your game. Anagrams. Dale Edison could be another Eddie Sloan alias. So he's the one behind the soap carving scam.
The veil before your eyes begins to lift. There is hope for you yet, my literal young friend.
That's all we need right now.
Yeah? What do you need, guys? Aliases are tricky to prove, but we'll check the files and maybe make some inferences. Dale Edison. Okay, here are some business dealings on record, starting in about the same time Mr. Sloan blew into town. And isn't this interesting? The record screeched to a stop about 2 years ago. Could be a coincidence, of course. Still, this looks like a lead to me. You don't have enough reason to get a warrant for that location yet.
On the casino property? Of course not. Don't be silly.
Well, I don't feel silly because we found a copy of the report, and you did.
I suppose I can't argue with that, but honestly, I have no memory of it. Do you have any idea how many similar sites I've assessed over the years? How many stretches of desert do you think you could remember years later? Anyway, my name's on many things with which I had little, if any, direct involvement. Much of the grunt work is undertaken by students and other researchers.
And they're okay with that.
Hey, they get the experience, I get the credit. That's academia, Miss Seidel.
I assume these are top students. Still, you know how kids are. You might in the future want to check their work a little closer.
Why is that?
The report we found, that you authored, clearly stating this site has zero historical significance.
Well, I have to admit, these things can and do happen, even with the most gifted grad students. Last thing a professor wants, especially on a high-profile site like this one's become. Is there any possibility this situation could be handled with a little discretion? This is terribly embarrassing.
Embarrassing? Or incriminating?
I admit culpability in lending too much trust and responsibility to my students. But anything else, Miss Seidel, you're drifting into absurdity.
Really? I don't see it as absurd. I would say troubling, thinking of all the reasons someone might want to falsify an archaeological report.
I have never falsified a report. I don't have to put up with this insulting interrogation. I don't remember. And that's the idea, that nobody does. As I say, students and research assistants pay their dues doing anonymous grunt work and ghostwriting for established authorities, myself included. In exchange, the students receive valuable insight and experience.
But no exposure. Isn't that a little sleazy, Professor?
It's the reality of academics, Miss Seidel. Call it sleazy or expedient. Either way, you'll find it's not uncommon for an archaeologist to author a study on a site he's never even visited. Not to my memory. I rarely get off campus, let alone perform first-hand inspections. On the occasions when I am on site, well, I spend most of my time in the office trailer where I keep all records.
So you're sure you haven't been to the site?
Quite positive. But I'm starting to find the direction of this questioning quite distressing. Can we please keep it to the archaeological facts of this site? At the university, in a lot near the archaeology building. But that is part of my private domain, and I must insist that you not go poking around anywhere there unless your business is official.
You may see me come around to do a little digging of my own at that, Professor, and I won't send an intern. That's all we need right now.
Nothing else for you right now.
Need something? I get suspicious about guys with selective memories, and the prof hiding behind nameless students doesn't make it for me. Professor Montana doesn't want to talk straight up. Maybe his trailer will be a little more forthcoming. Looks like Mr. Kilbourne, already down on his luck, got badly scammed by the late Eddie. Bad enough for murder? Worth talking to him about, anyway.
You people were messing around in my space while I was gone. Don't think I don't know it. Nothing gets past me.
We had a warrant, Mr. Kilbourne. And all we need now is a little cooperation, and you can get back to your castle.
Hey, I may be down on my luck, but that don't mean my grooming has to go to crap, right?
I don't think that soap is strictly for cleanup, though somebody did use it to clean up, didn't they, Mr. Kilborn? At your expense?
I already told you. I made some financial blunders over the last few years. Some of them I don't care to talk about. Might make me look a little, well, foolish. Huh? Who? What, that light bulb guy?
Mr. Kilborn, we are well aware that you were victimized by the soap scam.
Listen, I'm talented. My art could sell. It really could. I always been trying to make it, you know, creatively. And with the money I got, along with the land I inherited, I was able to try different things. So maybe soap sculpture ain't the next pet rock. Something else will come along.
I'm sure it will. And I'm sure you hope your next opportunity comes from someone more trustworthy than Dale Edison. Or should I call him Freddie Sloan? Either way, you were bilked out of a good deal of money. I can see why you'd want to kill him.
If getting bilked by Freddy makes me a suspect, you better give me a number and I'll get in line. Half this town's been scammed by that con man. He was the real artist, preying on people's hopes and dreams. He worked in lies like Rembrandt worked in oil. So get out your bullhorn, go up and down the strip and round up those suspects. No way. I paid for a formal assessment before I sold that property. Legit all the way. End of story.
Who did the assessment for you?
You know, it's true.
What is?
Drinking costs you brain cells. Only been 2 years, but a lot of booze under the bridge, you know? Details like you're asking for. They went away a long, long time ago. Longer you keep the plane in the air, more luggage you gotta throw overboard. Dick?
How's your memory where that hand axe is concerned?
Piece of junk I found on my property. Looked kinda interesting, so I picked it up. Hell, this is years ago.
Really? It's Paiute, you know.
Greek to me, little lady. Blood? What the hell are you... Oh yeah. I remember. I had that statue on a high shelf and I was cleaning. You know, reaching up with the dust rag. Damn thing clonked me on the noggin. I tend to bleed when that happens. Is that illegal?
Then you wouldn't mind if we took a DNA sample, would you?
I don't suppose there's any money in it for me if I say yes, is there? Hell, go ahead. What choice do I have? I don't have anything else to say to you people.
Some substance up here. Been dried up for a while. Looks like enough dirt on the tire to pull a tread. Nobody here. Hope Professor Montana hasn't left for another state. These two carpet samples look slightly different to you? Always suspicious when somebody replaces their carpet. Hard to tell just from looking at it how long ago it was installed. We'll need to lift one good sample from both sides of this seam. Strange little things. Waxy substance. Soap. Wouldn't exactly call these art. This shovel got dented hitting something. Or someone. Real hard. Blood on it, too.
Yes. That's ready for image enhancement microscopy. I've put that into the image enhancement and microscopy equipment for you. I thermocycled the DNA from the blood. Not human. Best guess? Coyote. Good blood sample, but it was pretty old. How old? Wasn't able to figure that out. Years for sure. Thermocycled and graphed the DNA for you.
Here's our break. Fiber under Freddy's fingernail matches. Greg says the new carpet was installed around 2 years ago, about when Freddy vanished. You know a real good reason to replace a carpet? Bloody murder. Okay, so the blood belongs to our Vic. Still, that doesn't tell us exactly how the stuff ended up in the trailer. Think any of these are a match? I'm not too sure.
Are we a team or what? Tire tread is in the computer.
Tire types matching key characteristics and dimensions. That's a nice spin.
It's egg yolk from a red-breasted nuthatch. Rare to find them around these parts, but not unheard of. That DNA is scanned and in the computer already, amplified and graphed.
Kilborn's DNA is on the statue, so his story checks out far as it goes.
Nothing else for you right now.
As if you haven't embarrassed me enough, you bring up that ludicrous debacle. You would think an educated person like myself would see through a pitiful scam of that nature. But they flattered me. Played to my own vanity, desires to express my own creativity, and they made a fool of me and plucked my bank account at the same time. The effort and money I put into that worthless nonsense.
Did you ever look into the company? Perhaps to find out who is running it?
Soap sculptures? No. Eventually, as my grand sculptures were rejected, I began to get the drift of the scam. Just chalked it up to a learning experience. Even a professor can learn. Never gave it a second thought once I figured out what the scoundrels were up to.
That's all we need right now. I think we found ourselves an important reason to pick this up now.
Hey, Pretty hard to tell much from a nest alone, since birds of a feather don't always flock together. But speaking of feathers, I did find some in this nest, courtesy of a red-breasted nuthatch.
Egg yolk came from a red-breasted nuthatch. Could the professor's trailer have once been parked near the dig site?
Yeah? What do you need, guys? Freddy's blood in the trailer matched the carpet fiber, and the killer baseball bat found on the property our Mr. Montana lied about having visited. Add to this the prof getting lathered by Freddy in the soap scam, and even an unfriendly judge would give us a warrant on this one.
How many times must we go over this? I've explained the nature of my work with grad students. I just signed off on legwork my researchers did. Next.
Then you must have loaned your watch to a student because we found it at the site. It was found by the construction crew. The murder weapon, a baseball bat, that was in the same box as your watch.
I don't know how my watch got out to that site, and I've never owned a baseball bat. I detest all sports. If you were my research assistant, young lady, we'd have a long talk about your investigative methods.
After which, you would take credit for my work, right?
The same time I found out I'm only one of his victims. These implications of yours operate off wild assumptions.
Let's try a not-so-wild one then. When you were accessing the site, personally, you ran across a few Paiute artifacts, just trinkets, nothing too spectacular. You seized your opportunity, luring Freddy to a meeting on false pretenses. A big order of supplies, perhaps. Instead, you confronted him, demanding your money back, but Freddy refused. Enraged, you smashed him in the face, killing him. You buried him out at the property, making him part of the site, hoping it might be confused as part of an Indian burial, should the grave ever be discovered. All it took afterward was a simple falsification of the report to deflect any immediate attention to the site. Why would anyone suspect a professor of faking a report that would only make him look bad? After the body was literally turned up, you quickly reported to the site as a volunteer archaeologist eager to help. Actually, eager to further throw us off the scent.
You paint a vivid picture, Ms. Seidel, but your assumptions have led you astray. You're fashioning a theory out of hearsay and conjecture. If I were your teacher, you must have someone who plays that role in your professional life. I'd suggest you look for real evidence.
Funny you should bring that up.
I had nothing to do with his death or his burial. What? Blood? No, that's impossible.
Freddy's blood was all over your trailer. Analysis shows that blood was spilled 2 years ago, right when Freddy disappeared. Satisfy your requirement for evidence, Professor? Still think I'm operating out of hearsay and conjecture? The victim's blood in your trailer. Or did your grad students get together and do that for you, too?
Miss Seidel, I can indeed understand how it is you've come to this conclusion, but I do have an explanation. I really do.
Well, I'd love to hear it.
That wasn't even my trailer 2 years ago.
Not your... trailer?
Adam Kilborn gave it to me. Actually, in barter. In exchange for falsifying that land claim. It may seem like a petty matter to you, but a trailer like that is worth considerable money and was perfect for my purposes, both at school and in the field. Such a petty crime to come back to haunt me in so big a way.
You expect me to believe that, Professor?
Miss Seidel, you're a scientist. I don't expect you to believe it, but I do expect you to check it out. I've said all there is to say for now.
Sure, let's get your suspect back in here.
Now, why the hell would I do that? I'm tired of you idiots guessing about this and harassing me about that.
Yeah, we have his admission about falsifying the land assessment in exchange for your trailer. You remember your trailer, Mr. Kilborn? where you killed Freddy for conning you in the soap sculpture racket?
You think I killed a guy over an art school? Right. You're really getting creative now.
You have had various financial failures in your time, Mr. Kilborn, but the soap sculpture scam, which preyed upon your ego, that was the last straw, the final indignity. What was left of your life savings had gone into what you thought would be a new life as an artist, only it was just another washout, a joke you were the butt of. So you get Freddy to join you at your trailer, and you take out your frustrations on his face. A quick burial and a bonfire with his personal effects, and you were done. But you knew your land had historical significance, which would make it worthless for development, so you worked your trailer trade with the lazy professor in exchange for a fabricated report. You would eliminate Freddy and any remaining debt to him, dispose of the body, and elevate the value of your land for future sale, all in one fell swoop. Your life savings were gone, but at least you'd end up with something. And you'd give the crime scene in Montana as his parting gift.
You're guessing, young lady. You're spinning this out of whole cloth.
Not whole cloth, though a little carpet fiber's involved. You tore the carpet out and put in a new one, after the murder, which took place when the trailer was still on your property. And, Mr. Kilborn, the blood on the walls? Scrub as you might, it still comes back to haunt you. We even have the baseball bat you slammed Freddy with. Some of his shattered glasses are stuck in the wood.
Right now, I should probably call a lawyer. Don't you think? But you know what? I'm gonna cop. Right now. To the whole thing. You know why? I was nothing but a loser. Another loser in Vegas till that body in the desert turned up. Now I'm gonna be a winner.
How do you figure that, Mr. Kilborn?
That sleazoid creep bilked so many people. Man, when word gets out that I killed that leech, I'll be a hero. They'll build a statue to me. And I'll make you a prediction without a crystal ball. The leeches will crawl out of the woodwork and try and build themselves up over what I did. But I'm the one. The one to rid the world of that cancer. You see, I tried to go after Freddy with the law at first. Not a damn baseball bat. I gathered together the suckers Freddy took in the soap sculpture scam, and we were gonna have a class action lawsuit. Only Freddy had protected himself with limited liability and such. Point is, the great psychic Lazora was one of us. Just another victim of that scam artist, too.
Small piece of advice, Mr. Kilborn? Since you're a hero and all.
Yeah? What?
They have soap in prison, too. Don't bend over in the shower to pick it up.
Psychics have been known to help police forces all over the world. We should maintain an open mind and a little healthy skepticism. Now I'll predict the future. You'll crack your next case by listening to the evidence.